David Webb started his multifaceted career in the music business in 1963 when music impresario Jim Halsey hired him to put up posters in southeast Kansas and northeast Oklahoma for upcoming shows on his artist roster. These artists were Roy Clark, Wanda Jackson, Hank Thompson, and Leon McAuliffe. During his time of driving from town to town putting up posters, David saw a market for rock and roll that was not being served in the area. So David started his own booking agency and contracted to provide rock bands at the Independence, Kansas Civic Center every Friday night. The arrangement was very successful. His success was noticed by John Brown of Mid-Continent Entertainment, based at the Red Dog Inn in Lawrence, Kansas. After several conversations, David merged his roster and venues into Mid-Continent and moved to Lawrence. During that period, they were booking and promoting KOMA teen bands like Becky Hobbs and her all-girl rock band, the Four Faces of Five. They also booked and promoted national acts, such as Paul Revere and the Raiders, the Box Tops, Mitch Ryder, and the Detroit Wheels. After relocating to Chicago, David started working with Scott Cameron and his agency, which booked, managed, and promoted Muddy Waters, Willie Dixon, Howlin' Wolf, and Mighty Joe Young. David then moved to Celebration Productions, a very large and successful concert promotion and production company that produced shows in Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Minnesota, and Iowa. They promoted and produced the Super Bowl of rock shows at Soldier Field in Chicago. During this period, David was called and asked to meet with Dick Shorey, the president and founder of Ovation Records, a Chicago-based independent label. He offered David the position of Director of A&R at Ovation. As VP of Sales and Marketing at Ovation, David's credits included the Kendall's Grammy CMA Country Song of the Year, Heaven's Just a Sin Away. The album Heaven's Just a Sin Away was certified gold in the U.S. and in several other countries as well. David also licensed Judas Priest to their first U.S. recording contract, as well as helping book dates to bring the band to the U.S. for their inaugural tour. During this same time period, he spent several years on the Chicago Grammy Board before being elected to the National Board and then elected to the position of National Vice President. Jim Halsey and David had always had a close friendship, and when Jim and Roy Clark formed Churchill MCA Records, Jim offered David the position of VP of Sales and Marketing. As VP, David worked on the road and in the office promoting Churchill artists. David spent much time visiting and promoting radio stations on a national level all across the United States, as well as meeting with all of MCA's distribution centers, manufacturing facilities, branch offices, and record wholesalers and retailers. David also arranged, organized, and accompanied the Churchill artists to radio, TV, and print opportunities. That included working The Tonight Show with Roy Clark, Rodney Lay, and James Brown. As a result of that, James Brown asked David if he would consider working as his manager. David did make the move and enjoyed his time working on the road with Mr. Brown. David states it was a real education hearing about Mr. Brown and his life stories directly from Mr. Brown. After working for James Brown, David was given the opportunity to be a vice president and general manager in radio markets of Illinois, Missouri, Kansas, and Oklahoma. After his opportunities in working with major artists, record companies, agents, and various artist management companies, David thought it was only natural to bring his friends and knowledge to the various markets he was working. So David started buying artists and producing shows. Some of the artists David promoted and produced during his tenure in radio were Garth Brooks, Merle Haggard, Tim McGraw, Kentucky Headhunters, Travis Tritt, Susie Boggess, Hank Jr., Highway 101, Lyle Lovett, David Allan Coe, and many, many more. David is truly a failure at retirement, as lifelong friend Becky Hobbs asked David to be the producer for her musical Nanyehay. So, since 2014, David has been part of the Nanyehay project. He moved from being the producer to executive producer in 2019 and continues in the executive producer role today. They also developed Nanyehay into a short film and shot the short film in 2016 on Cherokee land in and around Tahlequah. David was both the line producer and co-producer of the short film. The short film did extremely well on the American Film Festival circuit in 2018, winning more than a dozen major awards. Nanyehay, the short film, was inducted into the Oklahoma Movie Hall of Fame April 20th, 2019. And in 2024, David Webb was inducted into the Oklahoma Music Hall of Fame.